This is day 259 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you would like to sponsor upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It'd be very greatly appreciated. Today we are doing Siman Kuf Ayin Ches Test to Yud Daled. And we'll talk about Shini Makom. What are called the things which require bracha in their place? Yeshmi Pastafka, some say it's only bread. That's the Rashba goes Maimonius. Only some say Komine Dogon, any type of grain. Klomar, Komash, Agamash, Barchim Mizonos, which means any Mizonos as well. That's the Torah name of the Re. Some say it's all Shibasanim. That is the Rashbam for the Rosh. In terms of making the bracha on the spot, not leaving before you make that bracha, we should be machmir like the last opinion, which is the most expansive. Leon din shenis bayer, in terms of the halacha, which has been clarified. On the other hand, that when you have some leeway when you start a meal and something which is davar atom baruch minkomo, yesh lahachmir kedei rishayna, that limits it only yishmachir first being like limits it only to the bread. Chemash lomashon Rambam sheivenu shekosam lashon suuda. It seems it could be the case according to Rambam, who writes the language of suuda. The suuda shaykh rak al pas and suuda is only relevant to bread. In the brackets, he says, I've got the soap lashon lo mashmakain, even though the end of his language does not indicate this. Because of shasio pears, because he writes beverage or fruit. Mikom near ken kavanoso, seems that is his intent. V'duk. Nishbur writes that according to that the Rachronim wrote that l'chadchilish machmir to make the bracha in its place, even in the shiva. Even the Shivas Minim, in other words, like the last opinion, and the Shini Mokom, you don't have to make a bracha on Shiva Minim if you change your place, like on bread. Okay, which in other words, unlike bread. In other words, you. That's interesting. You don't have to make a new bracha when you get back. And the Gra holds like the middle opinion that any Mizonos is Dabar Tom Bracha Achreb and Klema. So there's a lot of different opinions out there on this issue. Yud, Maniko Shini Makom. What is called the Shini Makom? We name Becheder Echad. In one room, I feel God mode, even if it's very large. Mikri Akom Makom Echad, it's all called one place. Shotel Pina Zufi in one corner, Yachol Pina Acheres, eat in another corner. Or let's say Pina Acheres, or to go out to another corner of Daber Sham and speak the shmooze there. Cham Makom, it's one place. Even from room to room, if when you go to the other room, you can see a little bit of the room in which you initially ate. It's not called sheni makom. Even from a house to the yard, it's not called sheni makom under such conditions, as long as you can see a little bit of the room where you're eating. Like we write in terms of Kiddush. V'sham these bar, they're going to be biased l'suklam because sheni makom. Going from the house to sukkah is not called a sheni makom. Because bar sham is a pratim there, and some details be clarified there. V'yorali, it seems to me, says Arukh HaShulchan, the bebatim shalonu in our houses, all the rooms open into the dining room. We create chad makom. It's called one place. The lo yimalei shloiru mixas makom shal beis ha'ochel ba'cheder. It's not possible you won't see a little bit of the dining room in those rooms which open into it. Generally, the ochel pears b'cheder zeh shesachamin. Somebody who eats from fruit in this room or drinks a hot drink, he's allowed to complete the eating or drinking b'cheder acher to another room, which is open to lo mikashini makom. It's not called the shini makom. The Mishnah Bir Aloha says that somebody should hold that from room to room it's not shini makom, even if you don't see the original place, and therefore, even though it's appropriate to be chayshish for the opinion that not to go from room to room in the middle of the eating if you can't see the original place. Nevertheless, if you're Mako, we don't protest because you have on what to rely. But the evidence certainly you should not make new brachas because it's a suffix to brachas l'hakel. Yudalf. If you had a mind to another place, it's not called shini makom. Because he says that the Ramah says it's specifically in one house. From room to room in one house. Even though he can't see from one to the other, Mahani Daito. His intent to change places suffices. But to another house altogether, Lo Mahani Daito, his intent does not work. Vice Lalia from a house to upper floor, or left, or vice versa. Mariganke, that works, came to stay by Sechorim. These are both the same house. Levush Murvor Khan, the simulation killed him, High Daito Philibais Acher. Levush seems to say that the das works even for another house. V'tzorachir. He's not sure. Arukh HaShulchan is not sure about this. Why? And also Rabbi says not sure. The deans only takes this Rosh Reish Arvei Pesachim Ayin Sham. Hey, because Rabbi to come simulation Gimel. I guess there it's unclear what the halacha is. But anything under one roof, it's called one house in Yozeh. For this purpose, total daito, his das is effective. Even though they're separate apartments, or there's a hallway of some sort, like an entranceway, foyer between them. Shekorin fear house, the four house. So somebody wants to drink coffee in several rooms. You should have mind. Then it makes a bracha. He's not going to drink in one place. He's going to drink here a little, and here a little. But then you can eat in all parts of the house which are under the roof. But the Mechil's parents said he was eating fruit. Oh, this is very necessary. He says, Manenu, in our time, we drink coffee over tea over a long period of time. We move from room to room. Therefore, your shadat should be initially for that purpose. The Mishnah says from house to house, even they're adjacent to each other, the Acharonim say perhaps you can't be make unless the place can be seen. In other words, from inside out, you can see the inside of the other house where you were eating. There is a Rav Moshe Feinstein upon which I rely, Halach L'Maisa, which holds if you're carrying your drink with you, the bracha goes with the drink. In other words, even if you go from the house into the car, into to another place, as long as you're carrying the drink with you the whole way, it's considered all one hemshech. And you don't, according to Moshe, don't have to have das beforehand for this, as long as you keep holding the cup. Okay, as soon as it was able to be with the fruit, anything which you're eating from, taking with you. Your base. If you eat on the east side of a fig tree, then you come to eat on the west side of the fig tree. So the baruch have to make a new bracha. From corner to corner is not called a shini makom. Zel b'bayis, that's in house. Shemichitzos makifos, that where the walls surround. Also called cheder makom achad, and they make the whole room like one place. As opposed to the fig tree on Medes Barabir, which is standing out in the open air. Because of Ravid says, obviously that's, well, I know it's obvious, but that's why you have in mind to go to the other side of the tree. Yes, it is pashut. If that was your dad to begin with, it's no worse than going from room to room. Yeah, tour low the tour doesn't bring down the fig tree case near the daito. Then Allah Yerushalmi zeh that he doesn't hold like this Yerushalmi the Allah lo garmi peanut. It's no different than corner to corner. But the Rabbeinu Beisos if he was ever so base, but the Beisos does bring it down to me, honey. I'm astonished. Lo yivi dibi arrived. Why did it bring the words of the Ravid? Zeh ain't lo marred lo feel like can't say he doesn't hold like the Ravid. That das works. Labato because of Siv Gimel the Mahani Daito. Afilu me'ilan le'ilan. He writes on Siv Gimel that even from tree to tree, not just around the same tree, but even from tree to tree, the das works. As we shall see. Achnir the lo shloch hashash levio. It seems he not bring it down nation zel milsa the pshita because it's obvious that das works. But da he showed the dafkuk shatena gedoyla ava. It's of course talking about where the fig tree is big and thick. Kokach, so great. The Kshanim Mizrach, when you stand east side, ain't royal samara, you don't see the west side. Avastami lon lo shad klal din, but by regular tree, this is not relevant. Fig tree is like is very bushy, so it spreads out. Now, even though one room, even if there's something interrupting from place to place, such as there's a heating stove in the middle of the room, nevertheless, it's called one place. For this purpose, if you eat on one side, you can finish on the other side. Even though you can't see from there to here, is in a house which has walls, like we wrote. The rock also, he says is only relevant to a fig tree because the figs not all become ripe at once. Therefore, when he gathered figs on the east, he didn't think that also in the west they became ripe. And therefore, it's like a hesed chadas and a new eating to go to the other side. Another fruit where you probably will circumnavigate the tree to find the fruit that would be not applicable. And the bracket says here, Lule divrei Beis Yosef farish the law alteina achas kai. In other words, Beis Yosef seems going a single fig tree. I would say it's talking about el ahar bay, many fig trees in a clump. Sh'achal mi'ateino sheb'tzad mizrach, we ate from the figs on the east. Uval echol me'ilanos mi'ateino, so this is tzad marav, and now you come to eat from the figs in the west. Tzarech lebarach, because it's like a different orchard. But Beis Yosef sif te'eno zu. Beis Yosef does say this fig tree. And okay, Yerushalmi doesn't say this fig tree. Uva Rambam, Valamin Kai, and according to Yerushalmi Rambam, he's actually going on the species. In other words, a clump of fig trees as opposed to one fig tree, which would be more palatable. Mishnah Berurah writes that in that the Beis Yosef is talking about a place where it's surrounded by walls. This fig tree, even you don't see that in the house is surrounded by walls. If you don't say its place, it's okay. As opposed to a fig tree, which is not surrounded with walls. In that case, his das doesn't work. Not like the Ravid. Some of the Achronim explain that Sifkin was talking about where it's not surrounded with walls on the inside, and the reason why he's allowed to go from side to side is because he had in mind to do that like the Ravid. Okay, I don't think the Arukh HaShulchan stands. Mishnah also writes there's no difference if he ate ate bread or other stuff on the one side of the tree, or that he was eating the fruit from the fig tree itself, which is something which I noticed about the Arukh HaShulchan, that he is assuming specifically that you're eating from the fig tree, which is not necessarily true. Could be that you're eating on the side of the fig tree, but not from the fig tree itself. You gimel kasar beina Beis Yosef siv gimel yesh mishum hashim hayah began. If you were in a garden, you want to eat from fruit of each and every tree. Once you made the bracha on one tree, don't make the bracha on other trees. Who that is if when you made the first bracha, you might eat from the other ones. But from garden to garden, you have to make the bracha, even they're adjacent. And even if when you made the bracha on one, you had in mind all of them, including the other yard. The Me'ilon explains the Arukh HaShulchan. The Me'ilon, when you see the tree, have it can be cheder l'cheder. Okay, that's what Mishnah Berurah even more mockery, right? One fig tree, which is not Mukha Mechitzos, he says, could be that Das doesn't work and not like the right. But they're talking about obviously from yard to yard. It's not quite the same. Again, the Me'ilon from tree to tree, having a cheder l'cheder, surround like from room to room. But from garden to garden, it seems kabayis labayis, house to house. Shokogan and Mukaf Mechitzos. Each garden has its own walls. Chagan kabayis kolelis, and the entire garden is like an overarching house. Vagan afilu gadol harbei, and if even it's a big garden, Hashem roim mitzad they can't take one side or the other. Nevertheless, mani daito come micheder lecheder. Nevertheless, his diet is effective just like from room to room. In the bracket it says Ein Elio Rabba, the Me'ilon Ilon Sharo is Zed Zed in Tzarech Daito. When you see the trees, you don't even need das. Abada Taz, subsequent test Lo Kasav Kane, Kamash Lo Shulchan Aruch, became Hashem Magabrasu Kodesh and Jamete that you need das to go from tree to tree if you can't see one tree from the other tree, even in the same garden. Mishabur is a Chayram who says like when it's surrounded by walls you do not need explicit das. Mistamri says das on all the trees unless he had in mind specifically initially only to eat from one tree and then he changed his mind. If it's not surrounded by walls, then you need das at the time of the bracha to also go to the other trees. It doesn't seem to have to do with whether you can see them or not, like the Arukh HaShulchan. You doubt. If you ate bread in one place, because of when ate in another place, only mentions the second place. Like travelers do, they eat while they're traveling. They sit down and bench in the place where they finish eating. What does this mean? He goes going through his reasoning. Rambam. Even with places, things which require bracha afterwards in their places. Nevertheless, you're now to go another place without benching. And if you did go out, you must go back to the original place and bench. So he's saying if you transgress this, they went back to eat in another place. They don't want to eat anymore. But you have to bench there. It's going to work also for the earlier eating. It's clear that he doesn't have a way to do this, do anything else, to go back to the first place. Since he even wants to go back to eat in the first place. And he says, why? Not just because they're traveling, but the came in the he's in a quandary because he ate in both places. So what is he going to do? Okay, you have to eat where you eat, but where? You have to go make one place. Let's say they chovas makam hasheni, and to be yotzei for the second place do that benching. And he's explained why does it work? Do we bench here on the other place? So he says that is like Holchei Drachim. Holchei Drachim are an analogy to somebody who violated the Rambam, ate in one place and then ate in another place without going back to the first place. You couldn't go. Yes, you couldn't go back. So he says that you can't go back, and that's like Holchei Drachim derech achilas kain, who eat like this in this manner. Excuse me. Since that's where travelers eat without a formal place, therefore they can do this even chatchila. Therefore here, but the Evid Yotzei bench in the second place. It's only there's all chiddush according to this opinion. But V'shitas Rabbeinu Ramah, but according to Ramah, Kol Din Za'achlamos all this is superfluous. The Kvarni's bar. So Shita Zu already said according to that opinion, when you have a Dvar Mitzvah which compels to do it, you're allowed to eat in two places. So there's no chiddush in this halacha. The Sharatzim writes, if you want to go back to the first place and eat more there, then and B'yotzi Shitas Rambam, they can certainly go back and make the bracha in the first place, and that is a better idea. The Shabura says if they had in mind to eat the Suda in the place of their motzi, made a motzi, then they changed their mind, decided to finish the meal as they were travelers. As long as they can see the first place where they were, they're allowed to eat, but without a new bracha. But if they no longer see the first place, that's considered to be a shini makom.